The night it all began didn't look different from any other, but it tasted wrong from the start. Her name is Megan, and for years I thought I understood every curve of her voice, every shade of her smile. I thought wrong. It started with the envelope. A thick, heavy one dropped into the wrong mailbox. Ours. I wasn't even supposed to open it, but it had our address. No return name, just a scrawl of handwriting I didn't recognize. I should have left it on the counter. I should have walked away. I didn't. Inside were photos, real printed ones, glossy, deliberate. Megan in a car I didn't know, wearing a black dress I had never seen, laughing in someone else's arms. Not just laughing, surrendering herself into him, her body folded into his like she had no memory of me at all. The angles were too perfect. Someone had been following them. Someone wanted me to know. I sat at the dining table, the photos spread in front of me like crime scene evidence, the clock ticking louder with each second. Megan was humming upstairs, packing for a conference. She called down casually, asking if I had seen her charger. I stared at the photo where her head was thrown back in a laugh I'd once fought battles to hear. I said nothing. When she finally came down, suitcase rolling behind her, hair pulled back tight like she was ready for war, I caught something in her walk, a sharpness, a carelessness. The woman I married had always been soft when she left home. Tender kisses, last-minute forgotten goodbyes. Tonight, she didn't even glance at me. I stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor with a violent screech. Megan flinched, just slightly, the first honest reaction I had seen in months. "Where are you really going, Megan?" I asked, voice low. She blinked once. Twice. Then gave a bright, brittle laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "You're being ridiculous, Daniel." "Work, obviously." "Stop being so paranoid." I didn't answer. I just picked up the photos and let them fan out like playing cards across the table. Silence dropped between us, heavy and sudden. Her face stayed blank for a beat, too long, too controlled. Finally, she leaned down, picked up one photo between two fingers and smiled. Smiled. "This? Oh, you poor thing. That's just Kevin from accounting. We were having a drink. It's called having a life, Daniel. You should try it sometime." My hands were shaking, but not from fear. Not from sadness either. Something molten was rising in me, something so raw it made me want to tear the whole house apart. "A drink," I repeated slowly. "In his car. In a hotel parking lot. At midnight." She shrugged as if the details bored her. "Believe what you want. You always do." And then she turned away. Just like that. She grabbed her suitcase handle and rolled it to the door as if we were discussing what groceries to buy, not the disintegration of 15 years together. I stood frozen, everything inside me tearing apart in silence. Just before stepping out, Megan looked back once. No apology. No regret. Just a tilt of her head like I was some minor inconvenience. "Beloved," she said sweetly, mockingly, "everything can still be saved. I never stopped loving you." Then she was gone. The door closed with a sound louder than any scream. And somewhere inside me, something old and trusting died without a funeral. I didn't follow her. I didn't cry. I gathered every photo into a neat stack, placed them in the center of the table, and sat back down. I was no longer a man waiting for the truth. I already had it. Now it was only a matter of deciding how much it would cost her. And him. The house felt too large without her lies filling the air. Every room seemed to echo back at me, hollow and false, like all the memories we built here had rotted overnight. I didn't move for a long time. Just sat there, listening to the fridge hum, watching the photos like they might shift into something else, something easier to believe. But they didn't. They stayed the same. Megan with her head on another man's shoulder. Megan with her lips brushing against his neck in a way she used to save only for me. When I finally stood up, the movement felt strange, like I was wearing someone else's skin. I picked up my phone and scrolled through our text history. Her last message, "Miss you already, baby. Can't wait to be back in your arms." Sent an hour before the photos arrived. A final insult wrapped up in hearts and exclamation points. I wanted to drive. I didn't know where, didn't care. Anywhere but here. The car started on the first turn of the key, and I tore out of the driveway like the house itself was poisoned. Halfway down the highway, instinct took over. I found myself driving toward the old part of town, the rundown hotels that didn't bother with cameras or questions. The kinds of places where secrets rotted quietly behind thin walls. I wasn't following a plan. I was following a pulse, a thread of rage that dragged me forward without mercy. I pulled into a parking lot littered with broken glass and cigarette butts. Megan's car was there, parked under a flickering light like it wasn't the burial site of everything we ever built. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I sat behind the wheel, gripping it hard enough to make the leather creak, staring at the car I'd washed last weekend while she laughed on the phone with someone else. I almost left. Almost turned the key and drove until the tank ran dry and my mind went numb. But then I saw her. She walked out of the motel lobby with him. "Kevin, He wasn't much to look at, sagging jeans, smug smirk, cheap cologne strong enough to slap you from across the lot. She was laughing, tucked into his side like a girl on her first date. No guilt. No hesitation. Her hair was a mess, her lipstick smeared, her blouse missing a button. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear them. I didn't need to. The way she touched his arm, the way she tilted her head, the way he kissed her forehead like he already owned her, it told me more than words ever could. They kissed again before getting into his car. That kiss burned into me harder than anything. That kiss was a death sentence. I didn't storm over. I didn't yell or punch or make a scene. I simply watched them drive away and I followed. Quiet. Distant. Patient. They didn't go far. A diner 2 exits down. I parked across the street, engine off, hidden by the night. They sat at a booth by the window, laughing, sharing fries, feeding each other like a couple of teenagers. Megan pulled out her phone and started texting furiously, smiling to herself. Probably messaging me. Probably telling me she missed me and couldn't wait to be home. I sat there for an hour watching her lie with every fiber of her being. Watching her feed off the thrill of betrayal. When she finally picked up her phone to call, I knew she would. I watched her bring it to her ear, watched her fake a yawn, watched her roll her eyes at Kevin like I was a joke between them. And when my own phone lit up in the dark with her name flashing across the screen, I didn't answer. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. The last thing I saw before driving away was Megan laughing again, her head thrown back, Kevin's hand sliding up her thigh under the table, her eyes flashing with excitement. Not fear. Not shame. Excitement. It hit me then harder than anything. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't torn. She was having the time of her life. And I had been the fool holding the door open for her to walk all over me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with the lights off, the phone still lying face up on the coffee table, showing Megan's missed call like a wound that refused to close. My mind wasn't spinning anymore. It was sharpening, turning everything she had ever said or done into a blade. Around 3 in the morning, the front door creaked open. Her soft footsteps moved across the floor. No urgency. No guilt. She tossed her keys onto the console, humming under her breath, the same carefree sound she used after shopping sprees or spa days. I didn't move. I wanted her to find me like this, silent, watching. She finally noticed. She froze halfway across the room, a shopping bag dangling from one hand, the other clinging to her purse like it might shield her from what was coming. Her eyes darted to the phone, then to me, then away. Hey, she said, too brightly, too fast. You're up late. I thought you had work tomorrow. Her voice wobbled at the end, just enough for the first crack to show. I stood up slowly. No shouting. No accusations. Just silence, thick and suffocating. I walked past her to the door, locked it, and turned back around. She shifted uncomfortably, suddenly realizing the script she rehearsed in her head wasn't going to work here. Where were you, Megan? She opened her mouth immediately, the lies spilling out like they were oxygen to her. Out with the girls, I told you. We grabbed drinks downtown, then Stacy wanted to show us her new condo. Stop. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut the air cleanly. She closed her mouth, blinking rapidly. I watched her brain scramble for another version of the story, another lifeline. You're lying, I said simply. And you're bad at it. For a second, she tried to act insulted. She even gave a little gasp like I had wounded her somehow. But it crumbled fast. She saw it in my face, I wasn't guessing anymore. I knew. I took the stack of photos from behind the couch and dropped them at her feet. She flinched back like they were burning. Her eyes flickered wildly, searching the floor, then darting to the windows, the door, anywhere but me. Who gave you these? She demanded, voice rising. The wrong question. Not it's not true. Not let me explain. Just who told? I laughed, a hollow sound that didn't feel like it came from me. Does it matter? You made yourself very available. For a moment, just a moment, her mask slipped. Her mouth twisted into something cruel, something sharp and ugly. You were boring, she spat, the words flying out before she could catch them. You don't even see it, do you? Sitting here every night, fixing the gutters, mowing the lawn, like that's enough to keep someone happy forever. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just let her dig the grave deeper with every frantic word. Kevin makes me feel alive. Something you haven't done in years, she hissed, stepping closer now, defiant, angry that I hadn't broken the way she expected. You're so small, Daniel. You think love is about chores and date nights and loyalty. You think that's enough. It was like watching a stranger wear her skin. Everything I thought I knew about Megan burned away under the weight of her words until nothing was left but a cold, vicious stranger standing in my living room swinging the wrecking ball herself. You destroyed this, I said, my voice low, almost gentle. Not me. She sneered. You were dead weight. Silence stretched out between us. Heavy. Final. She expected me to beg. To argue. To cry. I saw it in the way she stood, waiting, almost excited, craving the drama she had probably replayed in her head 1,000 times. But I didn't give it to her. I just turned and walked upstairs without another word. Left her standing there with her shopping bag, her half-worn lies, and the ruins of everything she had so carelessly set on fire. As I reached the top of the stairs, I heard her mutter under her breath, bitter and small. "You'll come crawling back. They always do. Not this time. Not ever again." I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of our bed, no, my bed now, listening to her moving around downstairs, the low shuffle of her packing a bag, the quiet slams of drawers being ripped open and closed again. Good. Let her leave. I didn't lift a finger to stop her. Around dawn, the house went still. I heard the front door open, then close again, softer this time, like even she wasn't sure she deserved to slam it. I stayed sitting there, the first rays of sunlight slicing through the blinds, cutting the room into hard, cold angles. An hour later, I was dressed. Not just jeans and a hoodie like before. No, I put on the suit I hadn't worn in years, the one Megan said made me look too serious, too stiff. Perfect. I wasn't serious anymore. I was done. Before I left, I opened her side of the closet. It was half empty already. Her favorite dresses gone. Her most expensive shoes missing. But on the top shelf, shoved into a dusty shoebox, I found it, the old anniversary gift I gave her years ago, a gold bracelet engraved on the inside with "Always Us." She had worn it for exactly 3 months before losing it. Now here it was. Forgotten. Thrown away like a receipt she didn't need anymore. I snapped the bracelet in half with one sharp motion, threw it in the trash, and walked out. Today wasn't about mourning. It was about consequences. I drove straight to Kevin's office. The man was predictably careless. He used the same work email for everything. A friend in IT owed me a favor. It took 30 minutes to collect enough proof to destroy him 3 times over. Company policies about fraternizing with coworkers, expenses billed during off-site meetings, sloppy messages sent from company Wi-Fi. The receptionist smiled at me like I was just another suit coming in for a meeting. I smiled back. Walked right past her into the big open bullpen of desks. Kevin was there, of course, laughing too loud with another guy, feet kicked up on his desk like he owned the place. Megan's betrayal made sense now. She didn't just fall for another man, she fell for this. A cheap, arrogant nothing who thought loyalty was a punchline. He saw me walking toward him and smirked like he was about to tell some joke at my expense. But when I dropped the envelope onto his lap, heavy and deliberate, the smirk faltered. "You're welcome," I said quietly. "It's all there. Enjoy your meeting with HR." He opened the envelope. His face drained white. He tried to stand up, stammering something, but I was already walking away. Let him stew. Let him sweat. I wasn't done yet. I went home, returned to the scene, and packed every last trace of Megan into boxes. Labeled them return to sender. I hired a courier. Not a moving truck. Not a polite service. A man who didn't smile, didn't ask questions, and didn't care when I said, "Leave them on the curb." No signature required. I left one thing out of the boxes, though. The photos. Those I kept. Insurance, just in case she got any ideas about playing the victim later. By the time the sun was setting, the house was cleaner than it had been in years. Empty. Still. Peaceful. Not silent, though. My mind was still roaring. Then my phone buzzed. It was her. I let it ring. Let it buzz again. And again. Finally, I answered. Not with anger. Not with questions. Just quiet. Letting her fill the silence. "Daniel, listen, it's not what you think, okay?" She rushed out. Her voice cracked, desperate, fake tears already loading in the chamber. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Baby beloved, everything can still be saved. I never stopped loving you." I leaned back in my chair, stared out at the night sky. Listened to her plead, "Spin, weave another dirty tapestry of lies." And I said nothing. I let her squirm. Let her beg. Let her drown herself in the mess she made. Then, right before hanging up, I said just 2 words. "Final offer." Click. The silence afterward was better than any apology she could have tried to fake. Because now she and her lover had to face what they bought for themselves. And the price was going to be steep. The next morning broke differently. No chaos. No regret. Just a heavy, deliberate stillness that felt almost surgical. I brewed a pot of coffee the same way I had every morning for 15 years, only this time there was no second mug on the counter. No Megan clattering around, pretending to care. Just me, the ticking clock, and the knowledge that by tonight, this chapter would be sealed shut in a way she couldn't wiggle out of. Around 9, the first knock came at the door. Soft. Hesitant. I didn't have to check the peephole. I already knew. I opened the door slowly. And there she was. Megan. Wearing the same wrinkled outfit from the night before, hair unwashed, makeup smeared around her eyes like a ghost of the woman she used to be. She looked smaller. Not fragile, pathetic. "Daniel," she breathed out, clutching her purse like a shield. "Can we talk? Please." I stepped back, letting the door swing open. No words. Let her think the door was an invitation. Let her hope. She stumbled inside like a drowning woman reaching for a piece of driftwood. Her eyes flicked around the house, taking in the emptiness, the stripped walls, the boxes gone. Panic flared briefly in her expression. You packed, she said, her voice shaking. No answer. She dropped her purse onto the floor with a thud and turned to me, hands clasped like a beggar. I made a mistake, she whispered. A huge mistake. I was confused. Kevin doesn't mean anything to me. I swear, Daniel, he's nothing compared to you. I just needed to feel something again and I messed everything up. But we can fix it. Please. You have to believe me. I watched her with a kind of cold fascination. The way her mouth trembled, the desperate flutter of her hands, it was all a performance. Maybe even one she believed for now. But the truth sat between us like a corpse, bloated, ugly, impossible to ignore. You needed to feel something, I said quietly. So you set fire to everything we built. Her face twisted, tears spilling freely now. I never stopped loving you, she choked out. You have to believe that, Daniel. Please. I stepped closer, so close she could smell the finality on me. You loved the idea of me. You loved what I gave you. The stability. The comfort. The life you didn't have to fight for. I leaned in until my voice was barely a whisper. But when it came time to choose, you chose cheap thrills over real loyalty. You chose a man who thinks honesty is optional. You chose this. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. She reached for me, fingers trembling. I let her touch the edge of my sleeve before I stepped back, just enough to watch her crumble a little more. You said everything can still be saved, I said. She nodded frantically. Yes, it can, I'll do anything, Daniel, please just tell me how to fix it. I smiled. Not kindly. Not cruelly. Just finally. You can't. For the first time, she truly heard it. The finality. The death sentence. She crumpled onto the couch, hands in her hair, sobbing so hard it shook her whole body. But I felt nothing. Not hate. Not pity. Just peace. You and Kevin are perfect for each other, I said, turning toward the door. Because you both only know how to take. And now you'll learn what it's like to have nothing left. I left her there, broken and gasping, while I walked out into the clean, sharp morning air. Outside, the courier was waiting by his truck. I handed him one last envelope. Inside, notarized divorce papers, photographs, documented proof of everything she and Kevin had done, a demand for full separation of assets, and a polite but firm eviction notice. He took it with a nod. By tonight, it would all be delivered to her temporary apartment, the one she had already rented behind my back. Let her live with her decisions. Let her lie awake at night in a cheap, empty place with no one left to fool but herself. The game was over. And this time I wasn't the one left begging for answers. The official silence didn't last long. By nightfall, my phone lit up again. Not calls this time, texts, long and frantic, pouring in like a flood breaking loose. Megan, please, Daniel, just talk to me. Don't do this. Megan, we can fix it. I'll prove it to you. I'll cut off Kevin. I'll do anything you want. Megan, you're throwing away 15 years because of one mistake? Are you serious? Megan, please don't humiliate me like this. We can handle this privately. And then the shift. When kindness failed, she turned to venom. Megan, if you do this, you'll regret it. I swear to God, you'll regret it. You're not as innocent as you think, Daniel. Megan, maybe you're not the perfect husband you pretend to be. Maybe I have my own stories to tell. There it was. The real Megan. The mask finally torn away. I didn't reply. I wanted her to stew in her own panic. I wanted her to realize that no matter how loud she screamed, it wouldn't change a thing. The divorce papers had been signed. The evidence had been filed. The house was legally mine, and the bank account she thought she could leech from was locked tighter than a vault. But Megan wasn't finished. She never knew how to lose gracefully. 2 days later, she showed up at my job. Not alone. She brought Kevin. He looked like hell, sunken eyes, twitching hands like he hadn't slept in days. Megan looked worse. Desperate. Sweating through her blouse, clutching Kevin's arm like a drowning woman grabbing a piece of driftwood that's already sinking. They made a scene. Security had to escort them to the lobby where I finally agreed to meet them. Not because I owed them anything. Because I wanted to see how far they'd fall. She started crying the moment I stepped off the elevator. Loud, ugly sobs drawing attention from everyone passing by. Kevin stood stiffly next to her, eyes darting around, humiliated but trapped. Daniel, please, she wailed. This is going too far. You're ruining our lives. I folded my arms, watching her carefully, feeling nothing. You ruined your life, I said. I'm just moving on with mine. Kevin finally found his voice. This is between you and her, man, he mumbled. You don't need to come after me too. I didn't know you two were serious. I almost laughed. Didn't he realize? This wasn't about jealousy. It wasn't about wounded pride. It was about justice. You knew exactly what you were doing, I said, stepping closer until he backed up against the marble wall. You knew she was married. You knew what you were taking. You just didn't think you'd ever have to pay for it. He swallowed hard. Megan grabbed his sleeve and pulled him back, shielding him with her body like that would somehow change anything. We'll disappear, she begged. You'll never have to see us again. Just stop this. Please. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The messy hair. The hollow cheeks. The hands trembling not with love but with fear. And I realized something. Megan didn't want me back because she loved me. She wanted me back because I was her safety net. Her stability. Her easy life. Without me, she was just another broken promise in a cheap dress. You chose him, I said coldly. Live with it. I turned and walked away without looking back, their frantic shouting following me down the hall like the last gasps of a dying animal. Later that night, another knock at the door. Not Megan. A process server. Hand-delivering a countersuit. Megan was suing for emotional distress, claiming that by exposing her affair I had damaged her professional reputation and caused irreparable harm to her personal life. I stood there in the doorway, thumbing through the laughable pages of accusations. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Really smiled. Because if she wanted a war, I was ready. And I would bury them both without lifting a single dishonest finger. I spent the next week in a lawyer's office, but it didn't feel like defeat. It felt like building a weapon. One piece at a time. Megan's lawsuit was laughable. My attorney, Mr. Franklin, a sharp-eyed man who didn't waste words, read through it with a mixture of disbelief and cold amusement. She's reaching, he said, flipping the pages like they were trash. She thinks if she throws enough mud, something will stick. It won't. I had everything on my side. Photos. Messages. Dates. Proof that the separation had already been under discussion before she even knew I had evidence. But I wasn't interested in just winning. I wanted it carved into stone that Megan was the architect of her own ruin. No second chances. No loopholes. We countersued immediately. Defamation. Emotional fraud. Breach of marital trust. And because she had used joint funds to finance hotel rooms, gifts, and vacations with Kevin? Financial misconduct. The papers were delivered 3 days later while Megan was at the nail salon, a place she used to drag me to 4 cute couple massages. Now she was served mid-manicure with a lawsuit that stripped her of every shield she thought she had. The fallout came fast. Her employer, the boutique she bragged about running, called her into a meeting and politely suggested she resign before things got messy. Kevin was fired from his job within the same week, thanks to a quiet tip from a concerned citizen about misusing company time and resources. That citizen may have been me. May have been someone else. Who's to say? And the best part? The apartment Megan secretly rented, the one she had planned to transition into while stringing me along for as much financial support as possible, refused to finalize her lease after a background check revealed pending lawsuits and financial instability. She was homeless. Jobless. Alone. Exactly where she had maneuvered herself. But the real dagger was yet to come. A week later, Megan requested mediation. I agreed. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to watch her realize there was no life raft coming. We met in a cold, sterile room lined with cheap chairs and old coffee machines. Megan showed up wearing the mask again, polished, composed, hair tied back in a neat bun, makeup thick enough to hide the cracks. For the first 10 minutes, she tried. She tried to smile. She tried to joke. She tried to paint me as the villain who overreacted and couldn't see how stressed she had been lately. She blamed the economy, her job, Kevin, even me for being too distant, every excuse she could scrape together. The mediator, a stone-faced woman in her 50s, listened patiently. Then she turned to me. I didn't say much. I didn't have to. I laid out the facts. Dates. Photos. Transactions. The truth stacked neatly like a set of knives she couldn't dodge. Megan's fake confidence cracked by the end of my third sentence. By the time we presented the documented bank transfers from her secret accounts, her hands were trembling. When the evidence of her lying to our financial advisor surfaced, signing my name on loan requests without my knowledge, she finally broke. Her voice cracked. Tears welled up. She tried to interrupt, to shout, to accuse. The mediator silenced her with a raised hand. Enough, she said flatly. You did this. Own it. Megan collapsed in her chair, a small, pathetic heap of what was once such a proud, arrogant woman. The final offer was simple. She would walk away with nothing but her personal belongings. No claim on the house. No alimony. No share of my retirement fund. No stake in anything. She would leave as empty-handed as the loyalty she had shown. If she refused, we would go to court. The photos, the receipts, the fraud, all public record. Every friend, every family member, every colleague would see exactly who she was behind the curated smiles. Megan didn't even last a full minute before she signed. Her hand shook so badly the mediator had to hand her a second pen. I signed my name without hesitation. Without a glance at her. It was over. But I wasn't walking away carrying scars. I was walking away carrying lessons, hard, brutal lessons burned into my bones so deep that no apology could ever touch them. As Megan slunk out of the mediation office, head down, papers clutched against her chest like a dying hope, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. And for the first time in 15 years, I wasn't carrying dead weight anymore. I was free. I thought that would be the end. It should have been. Papers signed. Lives split. Final. But Megan didn't know how to lose properly. She couldn't just vanish. She needed one more performance, one more desperate attempt to claw something back from the ruins she created. It started with the letters. Handwritten, messy, frantic. I found the first one tucked under the windshield wiper of my car after work, heavy paper, smudged ink, the frantic slashes of a woman spiraling. Daniel, please? You don't understand what we had. You don't understand how broken I was. I needed something, anything to feel alive again. I still dream about us. I still wake up reaching for you. Please don't let this be the end. I love you more than ever. I always will. Come find me. Come save me. I tore it in half without reading the last lines. 2 nights later, another. Taped to my front door. More desperate. More unhinged. This was our house. Our life. You can't just erase 15 years like they meant nothing. You have to forgive me. You have to. If you don't, you're just as heartless as you think I am. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had gutted our marriage without blinking, but now that she stood alone, cold, rejected, suddenly she wanted mercy. I installed security cameras. Filed a no-contact order. Not because I was afraid. Because I didn't want even her shadow polluting the life I was rebuilding. But Megan didn't care about warnings. Desperation makes people stupid. And she was getting dumber by the hour. 3 nights later, I woke to banging on the door at 2 in the morning. Hard, frantic, almost wild. Through the peephole, Megan. Sobbing. Screaming. Begging. Daniel. Open the door. Please. Please don't do this to me. I stood there quietly watching her through the reinforced glass, feeling nothing but a cold, steady silence fill my chest. She hammered on the door again, fists flying, slurring words into half-coherent wails. I could see the empty vodka bottle in her hand. See the mascara smeared across her face like war paint. See the unraveling happen right in front of me. I didn't open the door. I didn't even flinch. Instead, I picked up my phone and calmly dialed the police. Reported a trespasser. Gave my name. Gave her name. Made it official. The officers arrived fast. 2 cruisers, lights flashing in the dead quiet of my street. Megan tried to argue, tried to plead, tried to throw herself at them, screaming about love and forgiveness and our life together. But they didn't care. They handcuffed her gently, efficiently, like they'd done it 1,000 times before. As they led her away, she twisted in their grip and locked eyes with me. Her face was a wreck, tears, rage, disbelief, like she still couldn't believe the final door had really slammed shut. Daniel, she shrieked, voice cracking into something feral. You'll regret this. You'll see. The words echoed across the empty street, thin and useless against the cold night air. The officers nodded at me, professional, respectful. You'll need to come in tomorrow and file a formal statement, one of them said. I agreed. Watched them drive away, her wailing fading into the distance. Then I stood there for a long time, under the stars, breathing in the silence. Breathing in the freedom. Breathing in the sharp, clean knowledge that no matter how much she clawed and begged and threatened, Megan was gone. Gone not because I hated her. Gone because she chose it. She wrote the ending herself. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't living inside her lies anymore. I was standing alone, strong, clear, and whole at the beginning of something new. Something mine. No begging. No regrets. No forgiveness. Just truth. 2 days after the arrest, I filed the official statement. Everything neat. Calm. No anger. No embellishments. Just facts. The way the truth always wins when you stop trying to dress it up. Megan was released that same evening. Drunk and sobbing one moment, quietly stewing the next. Her new apartment was a crumbling 1-bedroom near the industrial part of town. A far cry from the warm home she used to parade her friends through with wine glasses and fake smiles. Now she lived among cold bricks, flickering streetlights, and the constant humming sound of nothingness. I didn't hear from her for a few weeks. The lawyers took over, the cold, clean dismantling of a life. I should have known she wasn't done. Megan always kept one card hidden, always believed she had a move no one else could see. It came in the form of a letter. Not from her. From her attorney. Megan was now filing a separate claim, this time accusing me of emotional manipulation during our marriage. A pathetic, last-ditch attempt to siphon something out of the wreckage she had caused. Not because she believed it would work. Because she couldn't stand the idea of walking away empty-handed. She needed to wound me. She needed to believe she still had teeth. My lawyer called me the same afternoon, voice tight but amused. She's desperate, he said. We can crush this easily. But if you want, there's a faster way. I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window at the slow fall of rain against the glass. Faster sounded good. Faster meant cleaner. Franklin suggested a meeting, just us, Megan, her lawyer, and a mediator. I agreed. But I wasn't walking into it empty-handed. I brought everything. The timelines. The financial theft. The secret apartment lease signed before she even started working late. The anonymous tips she had sent to Kevin's HR department before they got caught. A move that proved she was already lining up her backup plans, hedging her bets. I had built a file so thick it barely fit into the briefcase. And when Megan and her lawyer sat down across from me at that long conference table, all polished lies and fake wounded pride, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't even look angry. I simply opened the file and let the truth pour out. Piece by piece. Page by page. Every receipt, every timestamp, every email trail. Laid out in perfect, brutal order. Her lawyer turned pale halfway through. By the time I slid the notarized witness statements across the table, testimony from Kevin's own co-workers, from hotel staff, from mutual friends who had seen the lies unfolding in real time, Megan was visibly shaking. Her mask crumbled completely. Gone was the fake dignity. Gone was the smugness. Only raw, naked fear left. And then I dropped the final piece. A prepared counter-suit for malicious prosecution and perjury. Filed and ready to go. Waiting only on my signature. I didn't speak. I just tapped the file once with my finger, meeting her shattered eyes across the table. The message was clear. Push this any further, and I will burn you to the ground, legally, completely, with nothing left to hide behind. Her lawyer whispered to her urgently. Megan tried to argue, tried to push back. But she was drowning. Sinking fast in the ocean, she thought she could swim across blindfolded. In the end, she signed the withdrawal of all claims. No payout. No settlement. No apology. Nothing. She left the building without looking back, shoulders hunched, face pale, hair limp. Just a broken figure dragging herself out into a world she had built on lies and shortcuts and now had to face alone. I sat there for a few minutes longer after they left, watching the rain fall harder outside. Feeling nothing. Not joy. Not sadness. Just clean, sharp finality. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't victory. It was justice. And it tasted better than anything she had ever offered me. It's been 6 months now. Half a year since I watched Megan walk out of that sterile building, taking with her nothing but the ashes of the life she thought she could hold onto. I don't hear from her anymore. No letters. No calls. No desperate messages. Maybe she finally understood. Or maybe she just found someone else to drain dry. It doesn't matter anymore. The house is different now. Lighter. The walls don't whisper betrayal anymore. They hum with peace. I repainted the bedroom. Tore down every framed memory she touched. Gave away the furniture she picked. There's no trace of her here. No lingering perfume. No ghost hand reaching out when I wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes when I'm standing outside in the early morning, coffee in hand, watching the sun burn the mist off the lawn, I wonder if she ever feels it, that hollow ache where stability used to be. If she ever wakes up in some cheap bed, in some cheap apartment, next to a man who doesn't know half her lies and realizes what she threw away. But I don't stay in those thoughts long. I learned not to. Because the real lesson, the one they don't tell you about betrayal, isn't about anger. It isn't about revenge. It's about seeing yourself clearly for the first time after the dust settles. It's about realizing how much you gave and how little it was ever truly valued. It's about understanding that someone can say they love you and still carve you open without flinching. Megan didn't love me. She loved the way I made her life easier. She loved the safety net. The quiet assurance that someone would always catch her when she fell, even if she jumped on purpose. And when that was gone, she wasn't reaching for me. She was reaching for the comfort. The idea of me. Not the man standing there, bleeding from 1,000 small cuts she never once bothered to notice. So here's what I'll leave you with if you're reading this and living through the same kind of slow, grinding heartbreak I did. When someone shows you that they are willing to risk everything you built together for a cheap thrill, believe them. When they show you that your loyalty is disposable, don't argue. Don't beg. Don't explain. Don't try to fix it. Just leave. Because nothing you say will ever teach someone to value what they never understood in the first place. Because you deserve more than being a footnote in someone else's story of self-destruction. I'm not the same man I was a year ago. I'm sharper now. Quieter. Stronger. Not because of the pain. Because I survived it without letting it turn me into her. That's the real victory. Not winning. Not revenge. Just getting your life back. And building it better without the ones who tried to poison it. And if she ever drives past this house someday, peering through the windows, searching for a trace of the life she burned to the ground, she won't find a thing left. Just clean walls, bright mornings, and a man who remembers everything, but regrets nothing.